Good afternoon, everyone. Bob Pompiani here, soon to be joined by Missy Matthews, and we greet you on this Tomlin Monday, not Tuesday because of the short week and a trip to Cleveland coming up on Thursday. Thanks for joining us on KDK Plus and Steeler Digital platforms. This is the Mike Tomlin press conference. Shortly, Coach Tomlin will talk about what happened yesterday and what was a big win for the Steelers, 18-16. Second time this year they've won a game without scoring a touchdown. That's why Chris Boswell's on this team. He makes it happen, and this defense limited a team that was number one across the board in offensive statistics to just 16 points in that game. And what a win it was for the Steelers to get to 8 wins and 2 losses. Significant plays by defensive players. You might remember last week at this press conference, Mike Tomlin talked about making a name for yourself in a rivalry like this. He brought up Isaac Redman. And yesterday we saw contributions from 3 guys right off the bat, turnovers. Patrick Queen, who's not new to the rivalry but new to this side of it, he made one of the biggest plays of the game in the turnover against Isaiah Likely. And then you had young guys doing it. Nick Herbig, very first quarter and early in that game to strip the ball away from Derrick Henry, which has not happened in many, many carries for Derrick Henry. And then you had maybe the play of the game turned in by the rookie linebacker, Peyton Wilson, who went down the field on a wheel route, and Mike Tomlin talked about how coaching was a big part of that. They knew that they would use that play at some point, and Wilson, who's very quick to the ball, made an unbelievable interception. And that was significant because right before that, you might remember Russell Wilson threw an interception in the end zone. So big plays all over the place as the Steelers get to the win, and they now look ahead to Cleveland. It's a short week, and normally on short weeks it's difficult because you have to make quick adjustments, especially coming off an emotional and a physical game like the Baltimore Ravens. And Cleveland has had success against the Steelers. You know, I'm sure they're going to be very mindful of that in Cleveland. I don't believe the Steelers have won there since 2021, and they can be dangerous on a Thursday night. Yesterday, Jameis Winston and their quarterback went over 300 yards. They tend to make mistakes, and that's one thing the Steelers would try to use in their favor here in this kind of game on a Thursday night. Also, Cleveland has not been very good in third down conversions. They are operating at 28%, which is dead last in the NFL, and the Steelers would like to take advantage of that as well. All right, Mike Tomlin getting set to talk about what happened yesterday and that big win, and also look ahead to this short week in Cleveland. Let's go to the coach right now.
Good afternoon. Under normal circumstances, I start with a analysis of the video of our last performance, but to be completely transparent with you, man, I have not watched a snap of it. On a short week, man, my attention needs to turn to Cleveland. And so my assessing of the game really is just kind of from memory conversations and, reading the game book and seeing some things on highlights and so forth. As I mentioned after the game, man, I was really excited about the efforts of the guys. I think there's growth associated in being in games like that and persevering and doing what is required to win. It's growth for the collective. It's growth in not only belief in themselves, but each other and what it is that we're doing. And I think it just further positions you for appropriate performance with challenges that lie ahead. And so it was productive from that standpoint. Obviously, it wasn't a perfect effort, but I'm appreciative of it. As I mentioned post-game, man, what can you say about Chris Boswell in 2024 that hadn't been written or said? He's been everything that we need him to be. He is performing at an extremely high level. We're extremely comfortable in calling upon him in just about any circumstances. It's just been special. And to do what he's done, obviously, with a change at holder in the middle of the thing is doubly impressive. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't start first with his contributions and, Corliss not only as a punter but as a holder, just being solid in the specialist form of play. That collective in particular has been rock solid for us. Can't say enough about what Corliss has been doing for us in terms of flipping the field as well. The field position component is always going to be significant when you're in games like that, and it was. Not only in terms of what Corliss did or what Boz was able to do from great distances in terms of securing points for us, but the turnover game I thought was significant. We got turnovers and we provided the offense the short field a couple of times, and, that's big in a game like that. Obviously, we didn't perform well in the red area on offense. Anytime a guy kicks 6 field goals. You have some things to work on, but it's good to do that with a W. But it's also important that we acknowledge the talents and the expertise of the Ravens. We've been in a bunch of games like that with those guys. It's always back and forth. There's always going to be some components of the game that are troublesome to you from a performance standpoint, but that's just the nature of being in five-star matchups. And so we'll grow from it. We'll grow with the W as we lean in on this next outing. And obviously this next outing is a really significant one. When you have back-to-back division games, it is significant, but also to have back-to-back division games and the second one be on a short week on the road, man, that has our attention and urgency from a lot of perspectives. Obviously, we got to make really good decisions this week about strategy, what to run, what not to run, what can we perform on a limited amount of physical repetitions, what do we need to, take a calculated risk in terms of running on a limited amount of physical repetitions. I just think that that's always the case on Thursday. We don't default to, base menus and things of that nature, particularly when you're playing someone that is familiar with you as Cleveland is with us. It is worth the trouble to ponder what's appropriate to run and what's not. How innovative can we be? How expansive can our menus be? And press the envelope in that direction. And so we got some hardcore decisions there. You also got some hardcore decisions about how you work, what's the nature of your work. Are they walkthroughs? Are they run-throughs? On a limited amount of preparation time on a short week, what does that look like? And you manage the balancing act of getting them in the stadium physically prepared while at the same time preserving them, acknowledging that they were in a significant physical football game yesterday. And so we got that decision to make. And then how to best utilize the last 24 hours. We go to Cleveland on Wednesday. Oftentimes when you travel on the road, that last 24 hours is loosely organized, not necessarily so on a short week. How we organize that time, how we utilize that time, players and coaches, I think will be significant in terms of determining our readiness. And so those are some of the things that have had my attention as I quickly transition to this prep. On an injury note, hadn't checked in on Alex Highsmith in terms of seeing what his availability might look like. If you press me, I'd probably say he's more out than in, but we'll see where this short week leads us. Like the trajectory of some others, Pruitt. Benton went down in game, but that appears to be a non-issue from yesterday. All the guys that sustained something in game doesn't appear to be an issue moving forward, and so that's exciting. We opened the window for Corey Trice, as you guys know, last week, and he had a good week's work and may be available to us, and so we'll see where that leads us as well. And so we'll manage some of these player availability things and division of labor things, particularly on a short week, how you distribute carries, how you distribute reps in terms of defenders in an effort to keep everyone fresh, I think is critical strategic decisions that have to happen on a short week. I'm not complaining about it by any stretch. Cleveland has to make the same decisions, and so from that standpoint, it's very fair. I'll turn my attention now to Cleveland and talk about some of the challenges of preparing for them. Starting first and foremost with their offense, man, I'm really just trying to get a sense of what does Ken Dorsey as the primary play caller mean? How is it different? What are the challenges for us relative to what we're used to regarding Cleveland? And so that's going to be a challenge. Obviously, we've seen Ken in the past from his time in Buffalo. But these last 3 games weigh a heck of a lot more than the ones that precede because of the significance of him as the central play caller. Coupled with that, obviously, is Winston in at quarterback, and so we got to familiarize ourselves with that tandem and how they work and what does that mean to their schematics and personality on offense. Obviously, they got some known people that we have to deal with. Mr. Chubb, first and foremost, just got so much respect for his game and his body of work and his capabilities. From an appreciator of football standpoint, man, it's really good to see him back. But from a guy that competes against him this week, obviously, he has our attention. Jerome Ford, I thought, stood in for him in a real solid way a year ago and continues to do those things. Man, he's a home run hitter. He's a guy that's capable of breaking big runs. He broke a big run on us last year. His last year at Cincinnati, we did a lot of work on him in draft prep. I think he had more explosion runs than anybody in that draft pool. And so his big play capabilities have our attention. They got some turnover at the receiver position, but it's not lack of talent there. Judy is new to them, but he's not new to the NFL, man. He's coming off of a really big game. They acquired Moore from the Jets last year, and he's a top-notch slot receiver. There's been some strong development in Tillman on the outside, and I think his growth and development is probably the central reason why they were comfortable moving on from Cooper at the trade deadline. Watching his play and looking at his statistics, and particularly of late, you see that growth in production and in the cohesion that he's gaining in terms of his professional career. We got some work to do there. And then last week was the first time they activated Tony, and they had some packages for him. You couple all of those eligibles that I mentioned with Njoku at tight end, and obviously we're highly familiar with him. He is a challenge. He does a lot of things well. His vertical game is excellent. I've been really impressed with the development of his blocking over the years, man. He has become a significant point of attack blocker. I don't think he was that when he came into the league. As a matter of fact, I think I complimented him on it post-game last year. It's real. His point of attack blocking is excellent. The tight end screen game and him as an outlet to the quarterback is a dangerous one because his run-after abilities are unique for the position. You can throw a tight end screen. He can turn it into a big gain. They can throw him a check down or a spot over the ball. He can bounce off some tacklers in your secondary and turn it into a big game. And so we got a lot on that side of the ball to get ready for and to be urgent about, particularly because of the lack of familiarity in some instances, particularly at the quarterback and play caller position. Some of the receivers are new, and so we got some challenges there. They got more continuity on the defensive side of the ball, but it doesn't mean that it's easy work. Jim Schwartz last year in his first year proved his capabilities, man. He's been at it a long time. They were tops in the league in a lot of things last year. Pass defense, yards per game, and things of that nature. They got really good continuity in staffing and in the secondary, and so we're working to manage those things. Denzel Ward is top-notch, but Newsome, that whole tandem, that whole collective back there is top-notch. The safety group, Delpit, Thornhill, they've all played really good ball, and as I mentioned, they were a top-tier pass defense group in the league last year, man, and they got after you. They play a lot of people. They're multiple. Delpit is very versatile, man. He plays safety. He plays big nickel. He plays dime in passing circumstances. He plays corner in some one wide out packages when you go big on offense. And so they got versatile players. The same could be said for nickel. Newsome's capable of playing inside and out. Ward is capable of playing inside and out, although I hadn't seen him inside of late. That is on his resume and in his background. The positional flexibility and versatility of those guys, coupled with the continuity, is a challenge. Obviously, up front, we got to deal with Myles Garrett, man. He's a game wrecker. You get in one-dimensional moments, man, you better be real solid there. It's not possible that he's going to impact the game. It's probable in those circumstances. We're highly familiar with that. I'd imagine the Chargers were less familiar because he took that game over a couple of weeks ago in a big way, but we know he's capable of that. We've been in stadium with him quite often, and so we got some work to do in terms of preparing ourselves to minimize him and that collective up front. They allocate a lot of resources to that group. Tomlinson is a big-time run-stopping interior guy who's also providing some top-notch interior pocket push for him. Their interior games have been eye-opening. They've gotten some pressure and gotten home some. And when they collapse the pocket in that way, they just make it easier for guys like Myles Garrett on the edge to get home as well. And so those things have our attention. The environmental component has our attention, man. Thursday night in a hostile division environment is something that we need to be ready for. We've been really fortunate in road game environments this year in terms of the support of our fans and their ability to acquire tickets, man. DC, Atlanta, Vegas, Denver, et cetera. I don't know that that's going to happen in Cleveland. I know as a collective we better be prepared for a hostile environment, the dog pound, et cetera. And so we got some new people, whether they're new to us and new to the National Football League, that need some quick education while we do the physical work that's necessary to position ourselves for performance. And so it's very early in this process, got a lot of work to do, but excited about doing it, excited about leaning in on divisional play. We understand the significance of divisional play, and I'm excited about getting this group into this week, man. You learn about yourself every week, but when the variables change, primetime football, road football, et cetera, the short week is a component of it as well. I'm excited about seeing the maturity level, the professionalism of this group as they embark on the preparation associated with a short week. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Mike, given the stature of that game and the offense you were facing, the quarterback you were facing, is that as well as you've seen your defense play?
You know, I hadn't thought about it. I'm never surprised when they play well, particularly when they prepare the way that they prepared last week. And so I don't know that I've viewed it through that lens. It's more satisfaction than anything else because I know our talent level. I know our professionalism and our preparedness. I thought they had a good week's work. I thought they were wired in. I thought Justin really challenged them. They had a good challenge in terms of prep, in terms of utilizing his skill set to represent that. And so it's probably more satisfaction than anything else.
Mike, you referenced an edge yesterday that you got from that good prep you were just talking about. How do you capture that in a short week scenario?
You don't necessarily do or attempt to. I think one of the things and key variables that you weigh is how do you best position the group to perform? And by that I mean, how do you get them in the stadium in the very best physical condition you can get them in on a short week? And so sometimes physical preparation gets compromised on a short week. But again, I'm not complaining about it. I imagine that Cleveland is tasked with the same challenges. I think we all are. Those critical decisions that need to be made about how you work on a short week is a major component of performance.
Understanding the point that's made, you haven't had time to do the deep dive on yesterday's game, but in the moment, as you were watching it, where do you think you could have been better on third downs and in the red zone?
You know, in a lot of areas, in all areas, but I'd be remiss if I didn't credit those guys. As we talked in here last week, I said don't be misled by some of the statistics regarding Baltimore's defense, that they are a top-notch defense, and sometimes, you know, being last in passing just reflects that you're in pole position in a lot of games and people lose their personality and get one-dimensional. And I still feel that. They're a salty group. Even though they got a new play caller, they got continuity in their approach to business. They got continuity in a lot of players. And sometimes, man, I just like to give credit to those that we compete against as opposed to crying and whining about our lack of performance in certain areas. Make no mistake, we got room for growth in a lot of areas, but they played well also.
You guys possessed the ball pretty well in the second half, 4 straight drives of 8 plays or more. What did you feel like you guys adjusted to possess the ball longer in those situations?
I don't know that there was any adjustments made. Sometimes it's just fluidity of performance, particularly in a game like that where emotions are a major component of it. You saw some chippiness on both sides early in the game. I think halftime was an opportunity for us to gather ourselves and control our emotions and direct it properly toward execution. At least that's what we talked about. I think the play is kind of reflective of that.
The passing game hasn't been as efficient the last 2 weeks as it was in Russ's first 2 starts. Is there a common denominator to that?
You know, I hadn't thought about it in terms of a broad brush. We were in a hostile environment in D.C., and sometimes that's challenging in one-dimensional passing moments. We played a really good defense last week, and so, you know, it's probably not enough of a sample size to stimulate me in the ways that you suggest at this juncture.
You said last week you weren't sure how you were going to divide up the reps between Herbig and Smith. Turned out to be a lot of Herbig, and he came through with a couple big plays. What did you see that was what you wanted to do with him?
We were getting off the field. We were possessing the ball some on offense. There wasn't as many defensive snaps to go around. Herbert's, conditioning or lack thereof wasn't compromised because of those things, and it made the divvying of the reps a less significant discussion, to be quite honest with you.
Can you talk about specifically him blowing up the 2-point conversion and how key he was in that play?
He's a big-time player, man. He's a young guy, but even in a small sample size, I think we all recognize his playmaking capabilities, and I think any of us that are around him are not surprised when he makes significant plays, particularly in significant moments, man. He trains under the likes of T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, man. He's got some great role models, and he's got an awesome work ethic and mindset to boot, and so I'm not surprised by it at all.
Looking at players like Preston Smith and Mike Williams who are new to your team, is there anything you can possibly do in a short week like this to get them more involved, or is it just...
I think every day is an opportunity to do that. There's a cumulative component to their involvement that has nothing to do with this week. We're just building upon days that we've already laid out. And so I'm excited about continuing to get to know them more and how they might be able to help us and infusing them more into what it is that we do.
Mike, what is the impact of the play of your defensive line to what you guys are doing defensively, especially the depth with that group?
We got to play a lot of people, particularly when you're chasing somebody like Mr. Jackson. He challenges your group with his athleticism, and we know that. That's a mode of operation. A lot of people ask us about how we play him like we're, splitting the atom or something. We're not. We play hard, fast, and smart and together, and a component of that is playing a lot of people because the pack is going to be needed when you're chasing somebody like that.
Yesterday's just one example, but but in general, as a coach, either on either side of it, in a weighty situation, a 2-point conversion, you call a timeout. Are you trying to get them to change their play, or are you you think they're going to run the same play? If somebody does it to you, do you run the same play?
I got no control over whether or not they change their play or not. I really wanted to look at their structure to see what mindset they were in and have an opportunity to maybe talk about it and better ready our guys and maybe eliminate some other concepts that might be less relevant based on what it is that we're looking at. And so that was the mindset. Whether or not they repeated their play or changed their play is not up to me.
Mike, when you called that timeout, they had started to the play. And it looked like Lamar was maybe going to take a step forward and maybe try that jump pass or something.
It did kind of look like that, didn't it?
That play in, did you think about that for during the timeout?
You're damn right I did.
Mike, Peyton Wilson made a significant play in a critical moment for you. What have you learned about the way that he works, having him for half a season now at this point, to set himself up for that kind of an opportunity?
It's not necessarily the work template that he sets for himself. It's much like talking about Herbig. He's got some real solid professionals in his group, in Landon Roberts and Patrick Queen. And he does a good job of just being a humble young guy, man, and coming alongside those guys and learning from them and asking good questions. He is willing to work, but that's often the case with a lot of young guys, man. They don't have necessarily a template how they go about their business on a 7-day cycle. But I see the makings of good professionalism in him in that he's a tireless worker. He's legitimately humble. He asks good questions, and he listens and follows veteran guys that do it the right way.
To your previous point, Mike, about the continuity that Cleveland has on defense, a little bit more so than offense, and the environment that they're in. Do those two hands wash each other when it comes to the challenges that you guys have had up there in recent seasons?
No question. The environmental component, primetime television, the wave that Myles Garrett and others provide up front. They've had a top quality rush group for a number of years. You couple that with a talented and veteran secondary group. They're good up front. They got a nice umbrella on the back end. I think they were first in the league last year in terms of explosion plays in the passing game. They gave up 39 passes of 29 yards or more in 2023. And so, when they're making you earn it and they're not giving up things by chunks and they got a dominant group up front, that's a tough nut to crack, particularly when you're in their environment. And so, yes, those things that I outlined and others have our attention from a prep standpoint.
Where do you see Mike Williams at right now as far as jump on the move and train? He caught the game-winning touchdown last week, but had around the same amount of snaps as Calvin Austin, less than Van Jefferson this week.
I like his work. How we feel about his progress is not always reflected in statistics. We'll keep working. He's doing a great job fitting in. We're doing a good job of getting to know him. I like the trajectory of it.
Do you foresee him maybe getting a higher share of snaps in the near future?
We'll see, man. It just really is week to week. And from a matchup perspective, or how we put our plan together, I'd be speculating, particularly at this stage of the week, this early. I'd be making it up, and I just don't want to mislead you.
Mike, you were emphatic about sticking with Broderick Jones. Where do you see the more need for improvement? Is it with the penalties or with the pass pro?
He's a young guy, man. He's younger than all the rookies at his position, to put perspective on it. Zach Frazier and McCormick are older than him. And so he's got growth in all areas ahead of him, but he's also has an awesome skill set. And so we're experiencing some bumps and bruises associated with on-the-job training. Like I mentioned yesterday, I have no intentions of blinking, and neither does he. And we'll just keep working.
Mike, you mentioned the critical decisions that need to be made about how you guys work on a short week. How do you see some of the veteran players on your group kind of instill the knowledge of, hey, how do you prepare for a short week to some of the young guys?
It's not a lot of help that they can provide. It's a short week, man. We're trying to get 8 pounds in a 5-pound bag. Those that learn quickly will have a place in terms of the division of labor. Those that don't, those that need physical reps, will be minimized. And I don't know that them talking about it is going to aid that.
Anyone else?
Mike Minka hasn't had the turnovers this year, but is he doing things maybe to help set up other people for what they're doing?
Man, he's doing a great job, to be quite honest with you. But again, I think the turnovers will come. I think oftentimes when you play on the back end, you're defined by takeaways. Just like when you play up front, you're defined by sacks, but it's not always the storyteller. But those of us that are in this business, we realize to a degree that you're measured by it. And so, he'll keep working, but I'm not displeased by anything that he's doing, certainly. And we're asking him to do a lot of things, but we always ask him to do a lot of things. I'm really excited about Cam Sutton being back because Cam's presence is really helpful in terms of being able to move him around even more because Cam is so versatile.
Joey didn't give up a catch yesterday, and he obviously had the big play on a 2-point conversion to get Lamar down. How did you see him respond in practice last week after he had kind of a rough outing in Washington?
I don't even necessarily describe Washington as a rough outing, to be quite honest with you. He's aggressive and aggressive in play, and always has been. His confidence is unshakable. He's a good player, and it showed yesterday.
Mike, you're getting Darnell Washington more involved in the middle of the field with some of those routes. How significant is that for what you guys want to do?
It's big when you get a guy like that running down the middle of the field. We're really just trying to spread the ball around and take what the defense gives us and to have enough depth and talent in all positions where we're comfortable doing that. And I think Darnell's, play in the open middle of the field is a reflection of that. We got guys on the perimeter that people are concerned about from a one-on-one matchup standpoint. Guys like GP and Mike Williams have reputations and resumes that merit you better be careful about one-on-one matchups. And so that pushes people to shells and 2 high safeties, and then the middle of the field is open. And so it's going to be opportunities for guys like Darnell. It all kind of works hand in hand. You asked me about the lack of opportunity for Mike. It might just mean what Baltimore was doing in terms of the 2 high shell, which opened up an opportunity for 2 explosion plays for Darnell Washington. That's just the nature of what it is that we do. We know and understand that. Oftentimes I don't take enough time or care enough to explain it to you guys, and I probably should do it more.
Mike, what did you see from him on the interception relative to what you wanted to see?
I'm sorry?
Washington, how did he play the ball that ultimately got intercepted?
I just wish Rush hadn't have thrown it.
I think it was Queen that said that Joey, first he said Joey's the quietest guy on the defense, and he said Joey said something before the two-point conversion. A, is Joey really that quiet in team settings? B, it's a second-year player for him to speak in that huddle.
The quietest guy in that group doesn't necessarily mean quiet. Joey couldn't get a word in if he was trying sometimes because of the nature of that group. But that group respects him, even though he's a young guy. His talents, his work, his approach, all of that merits attention in terms of when he speaks, people listen, and I'd imagine that'll happen more the longer he's here and the more plays he makes.
You talk about familiarity. Dan Moore's seen a lot of Myles Garrett. That's the same both ways. What do you need to do as a player to turn that familiarity into an advantage?
You know, I don't know that we view that as a one-on-one matchup, to be quite honest with you. And there's no slight against Dan Moore. It's just the talent level of Myles Garrett. I think you identify any tackle and match him up with Myles Garrett, it's not possible that he's going to get home. It's probable, particularly if it's in a one-dimensional circumstances. So certainly Dan is going to have his opportunities to be matched up against Myles, but I doubt that it's going to be in one-on-one circumstances, particularly in one-dimensional passing moments.
Coach, when Ravens week ends and ends with a victory, do you feel more sense of relief or more sense of elation?
Really, I'm just on to Cleveland. Maybe it's just the nature that this is a Thursday night, but by the time my car leaves that parking lot, I'm on the move. I've been in it too long to bathe in it, to be quite honest with you.
Anyone else? All right.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's head coach Mike Tomlin. Another Tomlin Tuesday here on a Monday as we get set for what is going to be a short week, and that normally leads to kind of sloppy football. I've watched a lot of these games, Missy, and normally on Thursday, because there's just not a lot of prep time, you do get some sloppy play. Of course, the Steelers are familiar going to Cleveland on Thursday nights. Never easy, and I don't think people should think it would be, even though they're 2-8. But the big thing now is, you know, who plays, who doesn't. He talked about reps and injuries, and let's update people on that in case you tune in late to the broadcast.
Yeah, in terms of Alex Highsmith, who obviously did not play yesterday against the Ravens, Coach Tomlin said he's more out than in at this point. Hasn't really had a chance to check on that. Didn't even watch film from the Ravens game. Immediately started watching the Browns. But Keanu Benton, some other guys that dealt with in-game injuries, they should all be good to go. And then Corey Trice, his 21-day window to return from IR was started last week. He was ruled out before the game, but could have a chance this week.
Yeah, and he would be welcome back, certainly. The more depth you have, especially you get later in the season, the more important it is. Steelers will try to get to 9-2. Going to Cleveland on Thursday night, we'll have more of the Mike Tomlin press conference when we continue right here on KDK Plus and Steeler Digital Platform, so don't go away.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
What you thought they would be today?
Yeah, I think at the beginning I probably thought back then I would be a little bit more pissed off, but I woke up this morning, I didn't feel any anger. I just felt content with life and the game and just being where I'm supposed to be at. I think outside in the past I wasn't thinking God put me in this place for a reason. You know, I was just heated at the situation that occurred, so I just gave my faith to God and just trusted Him that I was in the right place for a reason.
When you pictured this game for the weeks and months, is this about how you expected it to go for you?
Yeah, most definitely. You know, you dream about plays, and some games they don't happen, and then today it just everybody's telling me you're gonna get one. I don't know what it's gonna be. It's gonna get one, and then it's my dad's birthday too, so he was like, "You got to give me one." And then it's just crazy how things work out, though. Just knowing I had to come out here just to support my team, play as hard as I can for them, and just do my job.
So long, and you were part of the process of basically shutting that offense down. Number one scoring offense, and they did basically nothing.
Yeah, it's big. Just being on that side, and then coming to this side is big. Knowing what Lamar can do, knowing what the offense can do, especially with all the weapons and how much older everybody is now. It's not that same young Ravens team anymore. So, you know, it's definitely a huge game, especially this division, how the games go and how they turn out, and then knowing that we got another one Thursday. So this is definitely a huge game. And I think our defense just went out there and just trusted everybody to do their job. Nobody tried to do anything extra. Nobody tried to be Superman. And we all just trusted each other and went out there and balled.
Can you walk us through that forced fumble? And I mean, you were close to the Ravens sidelines after you got it. Was there anything mentioned?
No, I didn't say anything to their side. I took off the whole complete opposite way. I think my mom was in the stands on that side. And she was like, bring me the ball if you get a turnover, and I blacked out.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor Museum.
Now this is the best era. I couldn't agree more. Those teams were unstoppable.
The teams were really good in the 90s.
Come on, you couldn't catch those teams of the 2000s. Literally.
The 70s were the best.
No way, the 2000s.
Whoa, stop fighting. I think every era was pretty sweet.
You said it, kid. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves.
Wait, your team?
What can you say about Chris Boswell in 2024 that hadn't been written or said? He's been everything that we need him to be. He is performing at an extremely high level. We're extremely comfortable in calling upon him in just about any circumstances. It's just been special.
All right, welcome back. Bob Pompiani and Missy Matthews with you as the Steelers get ready for Cleveland. And, man, you talk about the importance of a kicker when he's on. And Chris Boswell is on pace to do something that maybe no one's ever done in terms of most made field goals on a day yesterday where Justin Tucker had his problems, and I think everyone knows how the life of a kicker can go. And then we watched last night as McPherson for Cincinnati missed two makeable ones that cost them a game as well. So even though they didn't score a touchdown, it's nice to know you have that insurance with a kicker like that.
Yeah, and Boz becoming the first player in NFL history to have 3 career games of kicking 6 and making those 6 field goals. Did it week 1 in Atlanta, again yesterday, and I just think his serial killer instinct, as Cam Hayward has described it, does not ride the highs and lows of games or if it's a 50-plus or not. He just goes out there and he does exactly what they need him to do. It's why Coach Tomlin had, I think it was a 62-yarder against the Chargers in the home opener.
And that's only
one that he missed.
That's it, 62 yards. So he was 3 for 3 outside of 50 yesterday. And the thing about it, he's gone through similar stuff. Every kicker, I'm sure, has. But you have to understand how it works and have a short memory and try to focus on what he's doing. He's doing a very good job of it. Also, we talk about kickers. How about what Corliss Waitman has done? Because he came into a situation following the injury in the preseason, and all of a sudden he's thrown into that. They had familiarity with him, but at the same time, he has been really good. And yesterday with a field position game, 71-yard kick, and he pinned them down pretty deeply most of the game.
Yeah, I feel like last week when you were talking to Coach about his keys to the game, the special teams field component, I think, is always big when it comes to the Steelers-Ravens. It's always a one-score game, so field goals do matter. As you said, Tucker missing 2 of them, but for Corliss to not only come in and do a great job at punting, but also helping Boz and having him comfortable when he's kicking these field goals.
It's going to be big in this one as well, just because of the nature of the rivalry here. You can say what you want about Cleveland at 2-8. But, they have a history, and, for them, it may be their Super Bowl kind of a game because they're 2-8, so they're not going to win anything other than spoil. And I think in that role, they can be very dangerous.
And it's a Thursday night, and the Steelers have not fared well in Cleveland on Thursday Night Football.
You remember that freezing game where it was like -8?
There's a lot of bad memories that come up when you bring up going to Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll be a good memory once they're done with this one and they can get to 9-2. We'll continue with our coverage of the Mike Tomlin press conference right after this short timeout.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor Museum.
Now this is the best era. I couldn't agree more. Those teams were unstoppable.
The teams were really good in the 90s. Come on, you couldn't catch those teams of the 2000s. Literally.
The 70s were the best.
No way, the 2000s.
Whoa, stop fighting. I think every era was pretty sweet.
You said it, kid. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves.
Wait, your team?
George, what were they trying to do to you guys to limit you guys to the air in this game? Was there anything different that you guys didn't see on film, or you kind of get the looks that you expected?
We kind of got some of the looks that we expected. A lot of them, I'll probably say like 65% of them weren't the looks, from film. And that's, that's always going to be a team's always going to try to switch it up and, get you guys confused.
What does it say about you guys as an offense to still find a way to move the ball at times, the deep ball that you had for us?
Yeah, I'll probably say efficiency. Like I said, when the defense switches up the coverage, and try to confuse you, all you can do is do your play at the best ability. So when we're efficient, there's nothing you can do to stop us.
How much more is that comfortability with you and Russ? I mean, it seems like that deep ball connection is hard.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Just doing my part, winning, giving them, space to where he can throw the ball and trying to make a play.
How tricky was it out there, especially with Humphrey? It seemed like he was involved with everybody.
Yeah. He was. It was a very, rivalry game, very chippy game. I think from the previous years, me game winner in him just trying to come out with a, tougher mentality. but also costing his team flags. You know what I mean? So I'd probably say just aggressiveness. It's a rivalry game, so something you expect.
George, how much have you seen Darnell improve and some of the impact that he can make for you guys now?
A lot. He's a big target. So, you know, when Rush is under pressure, you know, trying to make space in the pocket, sometimes he'll either see me, Pat, or you can't. It's kind of hard to miss Darnell.
You guys good? George, what did you think of the packages for Justin? Do you think there are more opportunities?
I think they're good for certain situations. So 3rd and 1, you know, 3rd and 15, or 2nd and 15 when we need him to get the yardage back. I think it's good. It's always good to have a switch up as well.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
One of the things and key variables that you weigh is how do you best position the group to perform? And by that, I mean, how do you get them in the stadium in the very best physical condition you can get them in on a short week? And so sometimes physical preparation gets compromised on a short week. But again, I'm not complaining about it. I imagine that Cleveland is tasked with the same challenges. I think we all are.
Yeah, Thursday Night Football, I imagine if you talk to players, it's not as popular. The other side of it, though, is you get a few extra days off after that, and that could bode well for the Steelers heading into a Cincinnati game afterwards.
Yeah, you know, for the Ravens, they played on Thursday night against the Bengals before coming here to play the Steelers yesterday, but agree in terms of Thursday Night Football, not a great record for the Steelers. Overall, they're 12-14 under Coach Tomlin, 9-10, and 2-8 on the road. I do just think it's such a quick turnaround. You already see guys in the building trying to get their bodies ready to play football again in such a short time, and you have to leave on Wednesday to go to Cleveland.
Thing about Cleveland, though, it makes them dangerous. All you have to do is look what they did earlier to Baltimore. That was a game the Ravens go there. They were heavy favorites to win that game, and that's what I'm talking about in this league. You never know what you're going to get, and all it takes is a couple of misplays. In that game, Kyle Hamilton had a sure interception, which he dropped, which allowed another play, and the very next one goes for like a 58-yard touchdown. So you never know about turnovers. One thing the Steelers have made a point of, and they've been very good in this, is not coughing up the football, not making crazy mistakes. Yesterday, they forced Baltimore into 3 of those. It wasn't like, you know, I listened to Lamar Jackson, he says, well, we shut ourselves. Maybe so, but the Steelers had a lot to do with those plays. And that's significant.
No doubt. And the turnovers that the Steelers defense was able to create, they were hunting for the ball, no doubt. I mean, you saw it on the second play, Nick Herbig getting the ball out from Derrick Henry, and then Deshaun Elliott, a former Raven, being able to get it. The Patrick Queen play, just crazy. I'm sure, though, Cam Hayward wishes he recovered it. But a great moment for Patrick Queen to be able to force it and recover it. And I just think that the defense knew what had to happen to stop Lamar Jackson, the Ravens offense, which was just so high powered, other teams not knowing how to handle them. But for the Steelers, their formula, the jobs they give each individual player, it works. And hopefully it's something that continues, winning 8 of the last 9 games against them. And also, you know, their record against Lamar.
This, I thought, was a critical play here because you would think, you know, at this point, Baltimore had scored. They got the ball back. If the Steelers can't move it, they were just going to go to halftime with a lead. Instead, it was Patrick Queen coming up with that strip forced fumble and recovery. And then this play here, I don't even know how you explain it other than the guy is very good at what he does in speeding, covering guys like Justice Hill.
Well, and you know, Coach Tomlin gave him kudos, and Peyton Wilson knew right away that he had the ball. I think a lot of people were also confused what just happened, but the prep work that went in, knowing as a rookie you were going to get picked on, and knowing what number 43 Justice Hill was capable of, said he didn't even know the ball was coming their way, was just doing his job. But when he saw his hands up, he threw up his, and it was a very timely interception to give the Steelers offense the ball back.
It really was a good throw, and he just took it right away from Hill. And the beauty of that, Missy, we talk about coaching during the week, they had identified this as a play they like to use, and if you're Wilson, you had to know that you were going to be picked on, and he responded to it, and I think Mike Tomlin and staff knew that was going to be part of this game plan.
No doubt. Even after the game, Patrick Queen saying, that's an all-pro play that he made as a rookie. And I think for Peyton Wilson, you're around some of the best at your position, even around, the other outside linebackers as well. Peyton Wilson is very regimented. He's always the first on the field for practice just to warm up, and he's reaping the benefits of his preparation.
No question. He has a lot of guys he can lean on as well as a first-year player. We'll take a break, come back with more here as we break down the Ravens, a big win, and also look ahead to the Browns on this Tomlin Monday.
Our fans are here. Give them something to cheer about today. And here's the roar of the crowd in Acrisure Stadium. This is what it's all about. You've got this whole place rocking. Picked off, touchdown, Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, the crowd's loving it. I can't even believe that I just saw what I saw. T.J. Watt with a sack. Sensational.
All right, we'll just open up the questions then. Russ, George told us that the Ravens threw some looks at you guys didn't necessarily see as much on film. What were some of the things that might have caught you guys off guard that you had to adjust to?
They did a good job. I think that we knew it was going to be a battle back and forth in this game. I knew that it was going to be a tough of will in the end. That's just how these games are. It was huge for us to be able to respond. I think that we reacted, and responded really well on certain things, especially, as the game went on. We kind of started figuring out what they were trying to do, and I think we just stayed the course.
Darnell's become a bigger part of the game
Say
plan.
again?
Darnell's become a bigger part of the game plan in recent weeks, not some big catches. How have you seen him improve just since you've been here?
Yeah, Darnell's been so big for us. Obviously him in the run game, him in the passing game. Obviously he caught that big seam up the middle, which was a huge, huge play for us. I think that he's done some really, really good things. We got great confidence in him, and so that was another key part to the game.
Playing in the NFC West and the AFC West, what was it like your first experience of this rivalry?
Man, just the passion, man. Just winning. Winning's everything. Just to be able to get a huge win, that was really big. I think obviously to play in front of our fans. Obviously it's my first time, and obviously it's such an honor to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Man, what a gift it is, and to wear the black and gold, and to be in front of our fans for the first time. Obviously the amount of history. We knew this was going to be a game of a long battle throughout. We knew it was going to come down to the wire, and we were able to pull it out. Our defense was unbelievable all night. Obviously guys like TJ Cam, Minka. I thought Peyton Wilson's play was a heck of a play. Deshaun Elliott's been playing so great for us. So just I thought it was a great team effort, and I think obviously for a guy like Queen to be able to step up and make some big plays against the team he used to play for, I knew that meant a lot to him too as well.
Hi folks, welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers Hall of Honor Museum.
Now this is the best era. I couldn't agree more. Those teams were unstoppable.
The teams were really good in the 90s. Come on, you couldn't catch those teams of the 2000s. Literally.
The 70s were the best.
No way, the 2000s.
Whoa, stop fighting. I think every era was pretty sweet.
You said it, kid. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves.
Wait, you're T?
The environmental component, primetime television, the wave that Myles Garrett and others provide up front. They've had a top quality rush group for a number of years. You couple that with a talented and veteran secondary group. They're good up front. They got a nice umbrella on the back end.
Mike Tomlin talking about the Cleveland Browns. He talked about that secondary group led by Denzel Ward, who leads the NFL in pass defenses. He's been all over the place. And they're certainly a capable group if you give them opportunities. I mean, again, go back to that Baltimore game when they visited Cleveland. They had their issues with Cleveland's defense.
Yeah, and I think, they're a group that's had that continuity, as Coach Tomlin was saying, some veteran guys who've played together for a while. Myles Garrett, you have to account for him. It's like the TJ Watt treatment, knowing what he can do. And for a team that's 2-8, they would love nothing more than to play spoiler and to just give the Steelers a loss to potentially hurt what could happen in terms of the postseason. But in terms of their defense, it was a 14-14 game against the Saints here yesterday, and it got a little out of hand for them, not able to stop the Saints offense.
Yeah, as this game wore on, it was Taysom Hill running the ball really that killed them. And that's one of the things you have to watch if you're them, they try to go after quarterbacks. They leave lanes open, and in the parts of the game I saw, there were lanes open, and he took full advantage of that. So with a guy like Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith scheming against this team, I would expect them to utilize that to their advantage. And keep this in mind: Cleveland has forced 9 fumbles this year. They are active that way, so they're going to be doing to the Steelers what the Steelers have done to a lot of teams, trying to force a turnover. So that's going to be a big key to this one as well.
And I think for the Steelers offense, you want to take another step forward after going 0-2 in the red zone, having to rely on Chris Boswell. So this should hopefully be a game where they can get that together on a short week.
They would love to do that, and if they do, they'll get to 9-2. That's a healthy lead going down the stretch. When we come back, we have a very special guest. He will talk about a Christmas gift that you may want for your favorite Steeler fan. That's coming up as we continue right here on this Tomlin Monday on KDK Plus and Steeler Digital platforms.
Our fans are here. Give them something to cheer about today. And here's the roar of the crowd in Acrisure Stadium. This is what it's all about. You've got this whole place rocking. Picked off, touchdown, Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, the crowd loving it. I can't even believe that I just saw what I saw. T.J. Watt with a sack. Sensational.
Joey, can you take us through that 2-point conversion?
Yeah, I was really just playing football on that last play. I seen my guy kind of block down and not go out for a pass, and I seen Lamar roll out to his left, so I was like, let me just make a play, and that happened.
How'd that feel in a game like this with so much on the line?
I mean, it felt great. They had that touchdown, and we knew we had to stop them on that 2-point conversion. We do that every week in 7 shots, so it was nothing really irregular for us. We just knew we had to stand up and get that stop.
They came out before they actually snapped the ball. You guys called timeout on the first look.
Yeah.
What were you seeing on the first look, and what were you anticipating when you came out of the timeout?
You know what he usually do, that Tebow pop pass, run into the line of scrimmage and pop it to somebody that sneaks out of there. We thought that was going to be the case, so we called that timeout, and he kind of was looking for that on that 2-point play, but I kind of just hurried up, seeing what he was trying to do, and just made the play.
What does it say about this defense with the amount of guys that can study and stick to a game plan when an offense has that many weapons to account for?
Man, it's just really just bend don't break, and we all got to trust in each other. That we're going to do our jobs, and that's really what that came down to. 2-point play. We knew we had to stand up and make a play for our team, and we did that.
Why do you think you guys have had Jackson's number here?
Say that again?
Why do you think you guys have had Jackson's number here?
I think just because we play sound football, sound defense. We give our offense opportunity to score and put stuff in the end zone, and we just fly around and make plays and make it difficult for them.
You grew up watching Steelers-Ravens, and you've been a big part of the wins here each of the last 2 years. Does it mean a little bit more to you after watching this rivalry growing up?
Definitely. I've been watching this rivalry since I was a kid. So now that I get to make my plays in this league, it's definitely a wholesome moment, and I just always try to make more plays out there. I made mine last year, and I'm just trying to keep stacking them.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We have a special guest. Mr. Jim Rooney is here. How are you, Jim?
Great, Bob. It's good to be with you.
Good to be with you, especially after a win over Baltimore.
Always
you guys,
nice.
Yeah, you might remember in 2019, Jim authored a book called A Different Way to Win, Dan Rooney's story from the Super Bowl to the Rooney Rule, a story about his father, Steeler owner and ambassador Dan Rooney. And I know that's been a big hit with you guys. Steeler fans out there love to read about the history and especially the way Dan did business. But now it's available in audio form, an audio book. So tell people who may not be interested or understand how audiobooks work. I'm sure it's great, especially if you're making a long trip somewhere.
So it's a great for Steeler fans, great for travel over the holidays, and you get a version of me reading the book. But in addition to that, we've added interviews. So for example, I did an interview with Rocky Bleier, and he talks about coming home from Vietnam, the Steelers cut him. And my father calls him that night and said, "Look, Rock, we made a mistake. And we want you to be part of the Steelers." And now Rocky was part of the game yesterday. So you hear many stories like that that are really great firsthand accounts that are in addition to the written words.
Yeah, so this is like a podcast for those of you who use podcasts, right? You're going along, and if you have to make a long trip, sometimes you're trying to figure out what you want to listen to. This would be a perfect gift for people to do.
It's great. Like I said, we have Rocky. I interviewed Joe Green. I interviewed Franco before he passed. Coach Cowher, Coach Tomlin. And I think you just get a really intimate experience with my father. It's almost like you're part of his life for a little bit of time. And I think Steeler fans will really enjoy that. You get to hear these firsthand accounts on how these men were all influenced by my father as a leader in their lives, and they went on to become so successful.
You're a proud brother, obviously, and a proud family man here, but what was the driving force for this book to be written? Why did you want to do it?
Well, we really felt that Dad's story was something that from a business standpoint we should get out there, and so we really were kind of focusing on the business elements. But over and over again, when I talked to people, it became this relational thing. It became somewhat of a memoir and an experience I had with all these different people I interviewed.
And the interviews are on the actual audiobook, right?
Absolutely. So I'll read a chapter, you'll hear an interview. I'll read another chapter, you hear an interview. So it's really a lot of fun.
It's like a labor of love. So let's talk about where people can get this. And again, it's a good time because we're approaching Christmas, and a lot of people look for different gifts, things that would help them. And this is practical, which is what I like about it.
I hope so. So you can download it on Apple's iBooks. You can download it through Audible, which is probably the biggest downloading site. And my publisher, Penguin Random House Audio, has a website which actually has a few extra goodies for Steeler fans if they go there.
You're going to give us a sneak preview of that? What could be in there?
Well, I think there's some autographed items. I think there's some cool merchandise, a few things that you get to win if you download at a certain point in time.
All right, I think it's going to be awesome. And if you're out there looking for a gift, this would be it. Jim, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Bob, it's always good to be with you. Thank you.
Good to be with you. All right, it's a different way to win, and you can now get it in an audio book version. So make sure you do that. And by the way, Jim and his brother, Art Rooney II, the president, will be on PTL tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. So that's going to be very interesting. Tune in. You'll see it with Heather and David as they go through how you can get your hands on an audiobook. Appreciate that, and happy holidays to you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob. You
All
too.
right, that's going to do it. For Jim Rooney and Missy Matthews, I'm Bob Pompiani. Thanks for joining us here. Steelers win yesterday, and now they look to Cleveland on Thursday night. We'll see you again next week as we return for another Mike Tomlin Tuesday on Tuesday. Have a good day.